And this is why also a lot of people struggle to get the AI to not sound like AI. We've all heard people say like, "Oh, that sounds like AI." Well, the odds are that person probably didn't give the AI a role to play before having it generate content. Because when you give it this role, it has significant effect on what it generates and how it generates it. So personas are our way of allowing you the ability to customize the AI, give it a role, upload it with whatever instructions that you want it to follow. Mike, you mentioned that you have one that follows a very systematic step-by-step approach, which is really good, very high-level thinking for a persona. Or it could be just as simple as you're our customer support agent and you help the user in XYZ way. You can create personas for any given scenario in your business. So for a salesperson, or to act as your customer support agent, or to act as your graphic designer and give you graphic design ideas. By giving the AI this role, you then get significantly better output.
One platform to rule them all, the Magai approach to AI integration.
Mike's got the hat, the AI kind. Unlocking power in business you'll find. Cut through the hype, explore the tech. Every week new ideas to check. All 10 leads us on a digital quest. AI secrets he'll always invest. Tune in tight, don't miss a beat. Knowledge groove, keep you on your feet. Listen up to the AI flow. Business growth, here we go. Cutting edge insights, that's the plan. With the AI hat, you'll understand.
Greetings, program. Welcome back to the AI Hat podcast, where I selfishly use this time to pick the brains of experts at harnessing the power of AI across all areas of business, from streamlining operations and boosting productivity to gaining a competitive edge and driving explosive growth. Oh, and you get to learn too. Subscribe to be shown how to prepare yourself and your brand for this AI revolution and come out ahead. Now, are you juggling 5 different AI tools just to get through your workday, trying to remember which login goes with which platform, and wondering if you're actually saving time or just creating new headaches? You're not alone. Today, we've got the AI whisperer himself, Dustin W. Stout. This guy isn't just another tech founder with fancy promises. He's been in the trenches as a digital marketing consultant for over a decade before founding Magai, which he brilliantly designed as the world's best AI tools all in one place. Think of Dustin as the Marie Kondo of AI tools, except instead of asking if your tech sparks joy, he's built a platform that actually brings the joy back to your workflow. He's helped countless businesses stop drowning in subscription chaos and start actually leveraging AI for growth. What would your business look like if you could reclaim all those hours spent switching between tools? Let's find out. Hey, Dustin, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, can I just say that I think you're the king of analogies? Like that Marie Kondo analogy was like, that was brilliant. I haven't been introduced like that before. And I loved it because that's really my goal in life, is to create products that bring joy. And I want to build something that not only makes people's lives easier, but makes it easier in a way that they actually enjoy it. So that was just I was really taken by that. And I've stolen some of your analogies before. I'll have to steal that one as well. So thank you.
Well, in complete transparency, I didn't write that. Claude wrote that. I use Claude via Magai. Claude is I have a showrunner persona within Magai, and I'll link in the show notes to how I do that and why, but I've got a whole showrunner assistant for all of my shows, because most folks listening know I've got 4 podcasts at Agorapulse plus this one. So it takes me step by step. Who's the guest? Dustin Stout. Give me his LinkedIn. Cool. What does Dustin want to talk about? If he filled out the form and told me, which you didn't, but that's okay. I knew exactly what I want to talk about with you on this show. But most of my guests, they tell me they want to talk about email marketing or social media, whatever, and I give it all that. And I've already told it how I want to structure the entire show, from the description of the episode to the intro of the guest, which I always say, look, I want to hype them up. I want to make them feel fantastic. And so I love it when folks compliment me on the intro or specific things like you did. And I'll say, hey, Claude wrote that. You're the one who did all the work to become the Marie Kondo of the AI digital revolution.
I definitely appreciate the analogy. And yeah, I suppose I am, for any podcast hosts out there, I am the best and the worst guest you could possibly have, because I don't come with demands, which means I don't give you any ideas.
That's true.
Don't ask me for questions. I'll just show up and we'll just have a good time.
That's right. That's right. Well, for folks who
No
aren't
agenda.
familiar with Magai, give us the elevator pitch. What exactly is Magai, and what problem were you trying to solve when you created it?
Yeah, so when ChatGPT hit the scene, I was in between trying to figure out what my next project was going to be. I had two failed SaaS projects behind me over the last prior 2 years that just weren't taking off. And, I was really at a low point in my life, just wondering, what am I going to offer to the world? I feel like I have nothing left. I've spent the last 2 years trying to build these two products that I really had passion for, but just didn't have the resources to see all the way to where I really wanted them to be. And I was just at this point where, okay, I guess I have to start taking clients again, and took on a few clients. And then ChatGPT came along and it completely upended everything I thought was possible with AI. Up to that point, we had some copywriting AI apps, right? We had the Jaspers before it was Jasper, and we had Copy AI and some of these other template-based tools out there to help us do AI copywriting things, but they were all pretty terrible. If we're honest, they were not very good. They were more work than they were reward. And I don't know, I just wasn't impressed, and I hated using them. But ChatGPT was something different. I didn't have to go through a templated system and fit my ideas into somebody else's box. I could just tell the AI exactly what I wanted, and it gave it to me. And that was magical to me. And as I started using it for both myself, my personal brand, my business, and my clients, very quickly things started to pile up. I'm like, why doesn't it do this? And why is this so ugly? And why is this not fun to use? And how can I make this easier to organize my chats? And how can I make it easier to work with my different clients and separate things out? And so all these quality of life things started to pop up. And I wanted to have an interface where I could leverage AI in all its capacities, but also stay organized and in a way that doesn't require me to switch tabs every 5 seconds. And on top of that, there were all these other tools popping up. Gemini, well, before it was called Gemini, it was called Palm, their early AI generative model. And then there was Claude by Anthropic popping up, and I'm seeing all these AI tools and these image generators and these video generators starting to get rumors, and audio generators. I'm like, I have to have 15 different subscriptions just to get all the AI things. And that's not something that a busy business owner needs, right? That's not something that a busy consultant needs. They don't need more subscriptions, more cost. They need a centralized location that will leverage all of the great AI things in a way that is useful and helpful, organized. And so I just, scratching my own itch, was like, I think I could build a better version of ChatGPT and leverage some other tools into it as well that ChatGPT will never have, because they're a single company and they're only working with their own products. And so, long story short, I scratched my own itch. I built the first version of Magai in about 8 weeks, start to finish, and was really happy with it. Was really excited, decided to share it with the world. And lo and behold, the world actually liked it. And so I kept building and making it better and better. And here we are today, 30 different AI tools, a whole lot of organizational tools to help teams work together and collaborate with all these AI tools in one place, make it easy to find, very sophisticated layers to how you can integrate them. And it's really become much more than just a better, prettier version of ChatGPT.
For sure. Now, as someone who's known you for, man, I'd say 15 years, I've watched your journey through several different businesses, felt for you the past few years, excited for you over the past year to see what you're doing with Magai. So that's fantastic. Now, you talked about how there's, what did you say, 50 different AI tools?
There's definitely more
Magai?
than 30. I haven't counted
30?
them
Okay.
recently. And there's like 4
I know
more
there's
that
a
I need
lot.
to add today. So
So there's a lot of tools in there, but a moment ago, you also talked about the fact that we don't need more tools as business owners. We're already overwhelmed with the sheer number of tools and subscriptions. Talk to me a little bit more about how Magi's consolidated approach helps solve that subscription fatigue that a lot of business leaders and marketers are feeling right now.
Yeah, well, number one, it's the pure financials of it. The fact that you would otherwise have to have a subscription to ChatGPT Plus, a subscription to Claude Pro, a subscription to Gemini Pro, a subscription to, well, I guess you get Dolly as part of your ChatGPT Pro, but you would need a subscription to maybe another image generator like a Midjourney or like a Leonardo or like an Ideogram. And then you need video generators, right? You need a subscription to Runway. You need a subscription to Kling and all these video generators out there. And now, while that might be cool, if the finances doesn't really bother you that much, here's what bothers me more than the actual finances. It's the fragmentation of the workflows. So if I want to generate copy for a blog post, I go to this one and maybe play it against this other one. And I have to switch back and forth between tabs and log into different accounts. And then if I want an image generated, I have to go over to this other app. And now I've got 3 different apps with 3 pieces to the singular piece of content that I'm creating. And I have to somehow wrangle them all into one centralized place by myself. I have to come up with my own system, keeping track of them. I need to find a way to store them in a way that I can find them later. So it's this fragmentation to me is harder to deal with than the pure finances of it. All in all, I think I was paying for, I don't know, 8 different AI apps before Magi was fully formed. And it was maybe costing me $100, $120 a month. Not a huge deal. But the fact that I had to spend hours a week just organizing and intermixing and trying to duct tape things together was costing me in the thousands of dollars. So for me, it's both the cost savings. That makes it nice, right? To instead of paying $230 a month, it's just your same $20 a month that you'd be paying to ChatGPT. But then having it all centralized, all your images, all your text generations, all in one place, easily organizable, easily accessible, and easily collaboratable. Is that a word? I don't think that's the word.
It is now.
Easy to collaborate with your team members because you can invite team members into your Magi workspace as well. That means everybody has access. And it's just easier to streamline all the workflows that you're trying to execute on with this content. So you're not generating content for the sake of content. You're usually trying to do something with it. You're trying to piece it together and put it to whether it's a blog post or a social media campaign or something. So centralization really, really helps with the just getting stuff done faster and more efficient. So I think that is, to me, the most important piece.
One of the really subtle benefits that I've discovered, I was doing a AI bootcamp training, and there's, 20, 30 people in the room from mostly Pennsylvania area, but we had some folks from further out, and they were all different kinds of businesses, all different roles. So it wasn't just marketers. There's HR, there were legal in the room, and so on. And the question that kept popping up was, which LLM am I supposed to use at what time? Which image generator should I use? Like you talked about video generation, then you dropped 3 tools that folks listening may have never even heard of before. Which one are they supposed to use? And one of the things that I loved, and I showed them this in the training, was that if you've got Magi, well, you can just test each one over and over and over again, right? Like if you're not sure which image generator is going to give you the kind of image you're looking for a particular use case, put in your prompt, pick an image generator model, get the output, and then change the model and get another output and change the model and get an output. I showed them where I'd done that like 20 different times for one image just to see and play around a little bit and see which models gave me the kind of output I was looking for. And I should stop for a second and just transparently say, this is not a sponsored episode. Dustin's not paying me to come on here. I've been using Magi for over a year. And like I mentioned, Dustin and I go way back. So I wanted to take this opportunity to get the man to come on here and talk to us more about what Magi does than what I typically mention in some of these shows. Longtime listeners will know I usually have video spots in here for Magi. I'm an affiliate of Magi, but I honestly love the tool. I'm in it every single day for Agorapulse, for my own work. But walk us through, if you would, kind of the typical use case for a small business owner who might be using Magi. What might their workflow look like, maybe like before Magi and then versus like an after implementation?
Sure. Well, let me be a jerk and put a pin in that, and we'll come back to it because you said something that I think is extremely important. You touched on probably the one question that I get asked several times a day, every single day, over and over and over again. And it's this question of how do I know which one to choose? And I don't think it can be overstated that having them all in one place so that you can experiment and test is really a superhuman unlock, because otherwise you're having to log into these different things, different interfaces again, switch tabs, have an account here, have an account there, which for all the IT people in the room, that's a nightmare, right? Having to manage employee accounts that are spread across 12 different apps, multiply that times 50 employees, the IT people in the room are splitting migraines. So having them in one place, being able to just play them off of one another or just see how one responds differently to the same exact prompt is super powerful. And the reason for that is because the question on everybody's mind is which one's the best. And you cannot tell which one's the best. I can sit here and I can tell you, what my tests have revealed and what the strengths and weaknesses of different LLMs versus others, and the strengths and weaknesses of different AI image generators or video generators. I can go through all that. But at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is these models are changing so quickly. And each one has different types of things that it's good at. And the way that it responds to my query about my type of copywriting task might be best executed by Claude because I've tried it against GPT and Claude and Gemini and all the others. And I just feel like Claude does it the best. But you might put the same thing into Gemini and it might speak to your language, the way that you build things much better. So it really is a matter of playing and experimenting and figuring out your tasks and which AI seems to fit best your outcomes. And that's something that I really encourage. And it's the reason why schools like the University of Notre Dame love Magi. They use it in class. So they actually have a generative AI program. Many schools are starting to do this now. They have a generative AI program, and the teacher, Professor John Barron, what he does is he allows the students in class to explore these different models. And he's teaching them prompting, and he's teaching them all the fundamentals of working with AI. And you can't do that. You can't experiment to that degree as easily anywhere else. You have to have it in one place to be able to go back and forth and analyze and do it all in the same interface. And furthermore, when you start to understand the different aspects of this AI is better for this and this one's better for this, you can actually play them against each other. So in Magi, you could easily start with Claude, switch over to GPT, do a few things, switch over to Gemini, have it take over for a while, and it continues the continuity of the conversation as if they were all in the room together already collaborating. And that way you get the strengths of every single model and none of the weaknesses. And so there's really a lot to that. And for everybody who's listening to this, you have undoubtedly at some point said, I don't know which model to choose, which one is best. Well, go experiment and find a way to experiment, and you will absolutely find the one that works best for your given outcomes. Now, what was your actual question?
Well, I love that point, because I know you just posted in your community a post about this very topic, and I'll link to that in the show notes. Dustin's got a fantastic community for Magi users. And the other thing that I talked about a lot is this fact of I think everyone should have an AI assistant, not a persona or a custom GPT that's for a specific task, but one that has been trained on what you do, who you are, what your goals are, your challenges. So it's that AI work buddy that I may have mentioned on a previous show, and I'll link to that also in the show notes. My AI work buddy is my most important persona inside of Magi. And to your point, I love how I can pick that as my persona. So that's who I'm talking to no matter what. But I can start with Gemini as the LLM to help me think strategically about something like a marketing campaign. But then when it gets to the point where we're actually going to generate some copy, switch to Claude. Same chat, So I don't have to give Claude all new context. It's right there in the chat, but I can switch to Claude, which most people generally would accept is the better writer for creative writing. So absolutely love that. Yeah. So the question was, though, help the small business leaders who are listening understand how to inject this into their day, their workflows in some way. How would they use Magi?
Yeah. So the first thing you want to start with is understanding. You want it to understand. You want any AI that you work with to understand your business from a fundamental level, right? Without the proper context, whether that's the type of business, category, products, services, name of your business, location of your business, target audience, all of this core fundamental information, brand voice, your messaging that you is ideal, your ideal messaging, all of this needs to be passed over to the AI if you have it generate anything for you, right? It needs to know this vital information. And so step one, whenever we walk an agency or consultant or enterprise into using Magi for the first time, the first thing we introduce them to is the concept of workspaces. And a workspace essentially represents a silo where all of your chats, all of your images, everything you generate is going to be contained. And if ever you want to create another silo that is separate, where other chats and other generated items are contained separately, you can create another workspace. And so this allows you to create, for consultants, like each client has their own workspace. Or for enterprises, each department might have its own workspace. That way the work isn't intermingled and you can keep things organized from the top down. So a workspace allows you to have what's called custom context. And anybody who's used ChatGPT probably knows this concept where you're giving context that is fundamental, foundational, that you want the AI to know every time you start a conversation with it. And so within a workspace, you can create your custom context so that every time, whether you or one of your team members creates a chat inside of that workspace, the AI will already be preempted, given that information during the conversation. It will always be front and center in the AI's memory. It will never go outside the AI's memory. You can also, in a workspace, upload knowledge. So upload PDFs, documents, things that are vital to your company ethos or proprietary data, workflows, standard operating procedures, stuff that, again, you want the AI to always know, but it may not be necessary in every chat. So you do it in a file and upload that file so that when necessary, the AI can go, oh, he asked me for this, and so that requires this file. And that way you have very high level customized information and data given to the AI in every conversation. So that's step one. Prep your workspace, make sure the AI knows everything that you need it to know in every given chat. Now, furthermore, we've had this from day one, even before GPTs were a thing. We've had what we call personas. And a persona is essentially just assigning the AI a role. And a lot of prompting has been, prompting guides and so forth have been built around this concept that when you assign the AI a role, when you tell it you are an expert copywriter, for example, the copywriting that it comes up with is actually way better, because instead of having the AI start as a generalist and just pulling whatever it generates from its massive swath of information and making all these calculations in a generalized manner, by saying you are an expert copywriter and narrowing its focus, you are getting much more specific output and much more higher quality output because it's not diluted. And this is why also a lot of people struggle to get the AI to not sound like AI. We've all heard people say like, oh, that sounds like AI. Well, the odds are that person probably didn't give the AI a role to play before having it generate content. Because when you give it this role, it has significant effect on what it generates and how it generates it. So personas are our way of allowing you the ability to customize the AI, give it a role, upload it with whatever instructions that you want it to follow. Mike, you mentioned that you have one that follows a very systematic step-by-step approach, which is really good, very high level thinking for a persona. Or it could be just as simple as you're our customer support agent and you help the user in XYZ way. You can create personas for any given scenario in your business. So for a salesperson, or to act as your customer support agent, or to act as your graphic designer and give you graphic design ideas. By giving the AI this role, you then get significantly better output. So in Magi, we allow you to create as many personas as you need to fulfill your different roles and different outcomes that you're looking for, just like you can create custom GPTs in ChatGPT. And those live within a workspace. And so you will then have on the very first layer of the intelligence that you're giving the AI, you have any context that you've given it the workspace. And then you activate a persona within the chat, which then gives it even more specific instruction as to what it's supposed to do in that chat. And you can even upload custom knowledge, just like in the workspace, custom files or documents that persona alone has access to. And so again, just really refining the level of intelligence and specificity for every single conversation or every single outcome that you might have. One of the most popular uses of a persona is a brand voice. So you may not need every single chat to have your brand voice or your writing style in it, but sometimes you're writing marketing copy or you're writing website copy or you're writing blog posts, and you do need that brand voice in there. So you can create a brand voice persona by simply telling the AI, hey, you are our brand voice writer, and this is our brand voice, and just give it all the juicy descriptions of what your brand voice is and what your writing style is or what have you, and then activate that persona only when you need it. And just like with the models, you have the ability to play these personas one after the other too. So you can start with your high-level strategist persona, get all the strategy laid down and all of that, and then switch over to your, say, social media persona that is instructed on how your social media posts should be. So a lot of really intelligent focusing and ability to hone in on very specific outcomes.
Got it. Now, there was a conversation in the community recently where someone had uploaded multiple files to their persona and they were struggling with that. And you'd made a comment, and I'm probably going to get it slightly wrong, so feel free to correct me. But it was something along the lines of it's only going to read one file at a time. So walk me through then what's the best practice if I want to have a brand voice document, a target audience document, some other kinds of really smart, good business documents attached. What's the best practice or use case for instructing the persona or the AI when to use those files?
Yeah, so this is actually a limitation of how AI actually works, and no normal human being is expected to understand this or know it outright, which is why it's our job as product creators to educate. So there's two methods that you can fill the AI with data or understanding or knowledge, right? The first way is in the instruction or in the custom context. Now, for all intents and purposes, instructions, custom context, and persona instructions are ingested the same way. For an AI, it's just a bunch of text that gets inserted before the chat and is always present. We just can't see it, but it's always there. So it's just a bunch of text. Uploaded files uses a technology called RAG, or a retrieval augmented generation, which essentially means you upload a file or a multiple file, and these files are stored in what's called a vector database. And without boring you to death on what a vector database is, basically turns all those words into math. Excuse me. But it assigns each of those files a designation and assigns a bunch of mathematical equations to help the AI understand when it needs to retrieve information specific to a file. It knows what file to go to and can retrieve that information, hence retrieval augmented generation. It's augmenting its generation with the retrieval of very specific data. Now, again, just like you said, the AI only has the capability to parse one document at a time. So in the AI's mind's eye, what it sees is I'm a AI, I have this persona, I've been given these instructions. I've also been given access to this list of files, and it sees essentially the file names. And when you make a request, one of the things it has to make a decision about is, does the user's request require me to reference one of these files? If so, which of these files do I need to retrieve and parse to extract whatever I need to reference? And in the age of current AI and current AI models, it doesn't have the capacity to do multiple takes. It just doesn't have that yet. Now we're in a world where agentic AI models are a reality and they're getting very good. But until we have that, until agent can come in, an agent is an AI model that can perform multiple steps, one after the other, and decide whether or not it needs to perform another step. But as of now, most models are not agentic, and so they can only do this one thing. And so you have to be very specific in how you structure this data that you're giving to the AI. Think through the scenarios yourself. You know, what items in this data that I want to upload should be combined to create one large document, or which of these documents should be separated. What do I not need contained in one file? And really the real art and mastery of working with AI and knowledge is understanding how much context is enough context, because you never want to overload the context of an AI model. The reason for that is because you give it too much to think about, it doesn't come up with as good a result, diluting its ability to focus on a given problem. For example, the person you were talking about, she's a novel writer. She's writing stories. And so this is a very difficult challenge for her, because as a writer, you want to have all of the information of the story present at any given time as you're building these scenes and building these characters and the character arcs. So it's a very challenging thing. But the truth is, if you're writing a scene for Frodo in Lord of the Rings, you don't necessarily need, if you had an AI writing assistant to help you write Lord of the Rings, or yes, Lord of the Rings. Sorry, I thought I got the book wrong for a second. You don't necessarily need the character profile of an orc over in this early scene to inform how Frodo responds to seeing an elf for the first time, the elf lair, I forget what it was called. But you can start to piece together very quickly, okay, I understand, like, you don't want to give it too much context, because you don't want to give it irrelevant context, because the irrelevant context will color, any context you give it will color the output. And so you want only the most specific context necessary to get the job done. And that can be just a learning process. And it's going to be a learning process until we get quantum computers who can just make all the decisions for us.
Yeah, so this just really unlocked something for me. Because like I mentioned before, I've got an AI chief of staff. It's a persona. I probably have 7 files attached to that persona. There's a voice. There's a target audience. I did a whole research and created a document targeting my audience, which for the AI have, well, obviously I'll consult anybody in the world. My focus is specifically St. Louis businesses. And so I did a ton of research on St. Louis businesses and documented what their particular business needs and pains are and how AI can solve for those. And so my AI assistant, my AI chief of staff, understands that I'm targeting St. Louis businesses. And so when it and I are brainstorming content to write, it's naturally pushing me towards St. Louis businesses. And I was assuming all this time that when I'm strategizing and then going to the actual creation of content, it has all the information in all these files stored in its current memory at once. And evidently it doesn't. And since I don't have an operator yet who could do all these steps at once, I need to walk her through the steps of, let's strategize who we're talking to. Then let's look at the document that has that target audience's pain points and their solutions to figure out what we're going to write about. And then let's move on to the next file, which has my voice, to actually create the content. And so I would either have to specify those files in the prompt as I step through that, or I guess at least have it stated in the instructions whenever we're going to create content, use the voice.pdf file or something like that.
Yes,
Is that right?
absolutely.
Okay.
That is exactly how you should approach it. And you should, of course, definitely put that inside the persona instructions. One great thing to do is to tell the AI in the instructions, you have access to these files. And this file is for this. This file is for that. This file is for this. And so just describe those scenarios where the AI would need to reference that file. Because again, like most people they make the assumption that by uploading these files, and this is just because there are a lot of AI experts out there who they don't work technically with the models. They just have a knack for having intuition about how things work, but they may not fully understand. So there's this misconception that uploaded files are training the AI. And that word is tossed around quite a lot because it's the word that just makes the most sense to us. And so I don't fault anyone for doing it. But from a technical standpoint, it is not training. And just as I outlined before, it is just a retrieval process. You're giving the AI, think of it like a human sitting in an office, and that human has a bunch of different file folders on their desk, and these file folders are labeled different things. And when you give that person a task, the only thing that they're capable of doing is going, all right, which one of these folders do I need? I think this one. And that's it. And then they're going to respond based on that one pulling of that folder. So that's how it works. And so there is a way to train the AI on your data and on your knowledge, and then have it become a part of how it just generates content all the time. But that's a very expensive, intensive process and not accessible to most users.
Right, right. Folks, we're talking with Dustin Stout about how a platform like Magai can help you leverage and make sense of AI. And I've got several more questions you're not going to want to miss. But first, let me share with you how I'm using Magai every day.
This episode of AI for Business Leaders, the AI Hat podcast, is brought to you by Magai. Tired of juggling multiple AI subscriptions and trying to figure out which tool to use and when? Magai simplifies AI for businesses by offering access to all the leading language models and image and video generators for one low price. With Magai, you can create custom instructions to personalize AI for every business need and use them across all LLMs, including ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and even DeepSeek. No more building custom GPTs or gems that are limited to just one platform. Magai also lets you create customized workspaces for your entire team, giving everyone in your organization access to the same AI assistants and tools and prompts. Ready to streamline your AI workflow and empower your team? Tap the link in the show notes to visit Magai today to learn more. And now, back to the rest of today's episode.
So Dustin, for business owners who might not be very tech savvy, what's the learning curve like within Magai? How quickly would somebody get up and running?
Well, see, that's where my heart is. When I build products, I don't build them for developers. I don't build them for highly technical people who could probably go out and build something similar themselves. I build them for real people doing real work in everyday roles. So Magai is designed to be just as simple as signing up, clicking the new chat button, and talking to the AI. You don't have to go through the process of creating a workspace that has custom knowledge and uploading files. You don't have to create a persona to get started. You can literally sign up, press the new chat button, and start talking to any AI model that you want. And that's the heart of everything we build. That's the heart of how we build and what decisions we make on what to build next. It's always with this idea of, can a person who knows absolutely nothing about AI get started immediately and start working? But also at the same time, we want to have those hidden little sophistication when and where it's needed so that power users like you can go in and customize to the high heavens.
And one thing I've known about you and always appreciated for years is your extremely sophisticated design sense. And that really comes through with Magai. It's honestly a very easy to use, a very intuitive program. It's a very beautiful looking interface. Unlike many of the other tools, not necessarily the LLMs, they're pretty good. OpenAI Gemini is gorgeous, but some of the other AI startups that are very focused on a very specific kind of task, I get into some of these tools and I'm like, oh my God, who designed this?
Yeah, make your eyes
It's
bleed.
awful. Yeah, it's terrible. So, but speaking of some of these all-in-one platforms, oftentimes I think like they'll sacrifice depth for breadth. How do you ensure Magai provides powerful, comprehensive capabilities rather than just surface level functionality?
I love that question so much because through and through, I'm a pragmatic person to a fault. I am not impressed with the shiniest, newest, most mind-blowing AI feature out there. I want to see how it's used in everyday work and life. And I will not even entertain a new feature or capability of an AI model until I've seen very clear, pragmatic uses for the average person, whether in their day-to-day work or in their day-to-day life. I'll give you a great example. There's a lot of buzz around video generation, and specifically cloning yourself, getting an AI video avatar of yourself, and then training a model on your voice. So you can potentially create an entire AI video version of you that will talk and do whatever you say just by typing in text. This technology is fascinating. It's just mind-blowing that it's even possible. And some of it is very, very good, but it's not quite good enough. For me, I look at every single one I've ever seen, every YouTube channel that is now using these AI avatars, every TikTok account, and I go, yeah, I can tell. And it's pretty cringe. Like, I wouldn't ever do that or want myself represented in that way. And I can't see any businesses that would want to risk their personal brand in that way, or their business brand in that way. So I scrutinize every new thing, even with ChatGPT. ChatGPT tasks is another one. So when this came out, it was like people, between me and you, Mike, don't tell anybody this, but man, it gets on my nerves. How the OpenAI fanfare, just no matter what they do, it is like you get like 15 different people on X that are like, OpenAI just released a game-changing new feature. Here are seven magical examples. You won't believe it. ChatGPT's tasks for me were one of those things. It was like, oh, you can schedule a push notification. Okay. Anybody else need more push notifications in their life? Anybody? There is some, it's not completely ridiculous, right? Because you're basically scheduling a prompt, right? That's all it is. It's scheduling a prompt, and the app will either email you when it happens, or it will send you a push notification. Some people find that easier to use than their reminders app. I have 5 different to-do and project management apps, which will send me same kind of push notifications, but they won't execute a prompt, which to some people has become very useful. As I've surveyed my users and the people that I know get the most out of Magai, I haven't found a really great example of the utility that brings, the pragmatic day-to-day thing that actually is worth investing. So I am, by default, practical and pragmatic, and I will not add a new feature or a new shiny object to Magai unless I see very clear business and personal value.
That makes a lot of sense. The example that I keep seeing over and over again with tasks is, oh, I programmed it to send me the latest news about AI. So we've had Google alerts for I don't even know how long. I didn't need to pay $20 a month to have that sent to me. And yeah, to your point, like deep research, I get that it's pretty good, but it's also extremely limited. I have a Google AI account. I was already paying Google $20 a month for storage. And I'm like, why? I just switched to Google AI. And now I've got Gemini with Notebook LLM and deep research, which I absolutely adore. And I use Gemini deep research probably twice a day minimum. It's so good. It's so easy. And it's giving me fantastic information. Now, sometimes I'm not doing deep research on something. It might be as simple as help me understand how to repair my vacuum, which I had to do recently. And so it helped me figure that out without me having to sort through a bunch of like Reddit threads and other people's random questions and even more random advice. But I appreciate that you're looking into those and carefully weighing what to add, what not. You've really impressed me with the models that you've brought on, not just the most famous ones and the biggest ones, but the breadth of models. So people can try Llama if they want to, or gosh, what's Amazon's Nema something?
Oh, Novo.
Novo, yeah. So
Novo
you can try
Light,
these models.
Novo Macro, and Novo Pro. Wonderful.
Yeah. Or Mistral, which I don't think doesn't give enough attention. Mistral seems like a really nice
nearly.
model.
They're doing great things.
Yeah.
If I can speak to that, something you said too, because it just dives deeper into this philosophy of, number one, like, how do I know the right model to use? But number two, like, shiny new things don't necessarily mean you should be using that. So one of the conversations we recently had in Magi that I wanted to educate people on is this idea of you don't use a jackhammer to punch a nail into a board, right? You need the right tool for the right job. And so when deep research came out, everybody went crazy because it's really phenomenal. They can go out, gather a bunch of different information all on its own. And it's not just doing one web search, it's doing several iterations of searches as it feels it needs to. And it's gathering sources from 20, 30, I've seen up to 60 different websites. And then it puts it all in a nice little, basically a report for you and organizes all that information that it found. And it's really useful for some things. Now, problem with that I saw immediately was, number one, AI can make stuff up, right? So if it's pulling factual information, number one, you're going to have to fact check it anyways. And so that seems like more work for me. Number two, AI doesn't have this ability that we have to sort the good information from the bad information. Like you and I, we can visit a few different Google search results and go, oh, this site's not trustworthy. Like this looks super shady, but somehow they managed to game the search results, right? AI doesn't have that ability to sort through good and bad information. It's all just information. And so it's doing exactly what a human would do. It's taking the top results from all these different search queries, and it's just putting all that information and treating it all equally, which is very dangerous for some types of research, right? So again, you're gonna have to do more fact checking for this. And so for me, the utility of it, the power of it is very promising, but the reality and the practical application of it really falls short in most cases. Unless it's a very low stakes type of research that you're doing, then I guess it's pretty good. Like I've used it several times for myself, just doing market research. Like market research, I think is a fairly good type of deep research thing to do, competitive landscape type stuff, where you're just gathering information on other companies. So that kind of thing is fairly safe. Again, you have to have a level of understanding about how AI models work and what they can and can't do and what their limitations are in order to make the best decision about this. And so in most cases, I would say just a simple web search function that AI has had for months, over a year now. We got it built into Magi. You can have any of these LLMs perform a web search before it generates, and you'll get up to 5 or I think sometimes 10 results, depending. And that will be sufficient. And you won't need to have 60 different resources to fact check. And then you won't have like a 2,000 word article to sift through, right? You'll have those results and you have the generated outcome, and it's much more efficient. Not only is it much more efficient for you to audit what it comes up with, but it's more efficient from a power consumption standpoint. Like the thing with these newer models, the thinking models in particular, they are very energy intensive. To perform this high level thinking that they do, like the O1 model or the new Claude 3.7 Sonnet, Gemini's thinking models, they are consuming massive amounts of power to process all of this. And imagine how much power is consumed by this deep research functionality. This is also why they're limiting it even to the highest tier users of ChatGPT. They're limiting it because it's such a resource intensive task. And understandably so, right? Is doing who knows how many website searches and scraping that content, processing it and scraping more and processing more. It's a lot of energy that's being consumed. And so I think we as consumers of this technology also need to be more cognizant of the effect of using these high powered functions when we don't necessarily need to, right? Nobody's filling their water glass with a fire hose, right? You just don't need that level of power sometimes. And so I encourage people to make decisions on what features and functions they use based on what they need to accomplish, and ask themselves, do I need the most powerful, most intensive, most energy consuming model to write a summary of this YouTube video? No, you don't need a thinking model to write a summary of a YouTube video. Just one of the basic models will do just fine. So, but even at that point, it's just a matter of educating, right?
That's a great message. In fact, I need to do like an entire episode about that because it's one of the challenges as a user. My electric bill doesn't go up.
Mhm.
My fee for using the large language model or Magai doesn't go up just because I choose a thinking model. It's how much energy is being used on the back end that I don't see. And so that's the quandary, I think, for consumers and why so much more education is needed. Dustin, in the moments we've got left, I'm wondering if you can share with us, maybe just you and I, what's coming up with Magai? What are you working on? What can we look forward to beyond the features that are already there that we've already talked about?
Right now, we have a heavy focus on our marketplace. We just released the Persona Marketplace where creators can create these really highly powerful personas, and they can distribute them to our community. Anybody in Magai can now go through our Persona Marketplace and see personas that were created either by our team or by handpicked persona creators. We have some being created now that are really fantastic from people like Jeff Hunter. I think Julia McCoy is working on one. Really smart people. I'm sure, Mike, you probably have some really amazing personas that you could probably contribute to the marketplace. But the idea is to have an app store. There are a lot of people solving a lot of different really high-level problems with these personas, and we want to give the community access to all of these and to lift up and put those persona creators in front of other people to get their names out there as well. Because eventually what we'll have in the coming months is the ability to sell these personas, to actually make a living by creating these highly powered personas that bring clear value to people. And so there will be this marketplace where people can buy and sell high level personas. And that's our current focus right now, figuring all the mechanics of that out. So right now it's only free personas, but soon we'll be adding that layer of e-commerce into it as well. After that, we are heavily focused on agents. There are a lot of breakthroughs happening in agentic AI, and it's super exciting. And so our next big build phase of Magai will be exactly that, figuring out how to tie these personas into agentic workflows and build systematic workflows where you can say, start with persona A, execute prompt 1, 2, and 3, and then go over to persona B, execute prompt 4 and 5, and then go to persona B, et cetera, and create these very sophisticated autonomous workflows with your personas inside of Magai.
Love it. I can't wait for that. That all sounds fantastic. Dustin, you have been amazing as always. For folks who want to learn more from you, that maybe got tons more questions, where should they go to connect with you?
You can find everything you need on magai.co, magai.co. And I'm at Dustin W Stout on all the social things. So you can probably find me wherever your favorite social platform is.
Terrific. Thanks, Dustin. Thank you all of you for listening. Of course, as always, we'll have all the links in the show notes below. But remember, if this is your first foray into the world of AI and business, I've got the perfect resource for you in the show notes below, the AI Primer, designed to quickly get up to speed on terms, the tactics, and the underlying technology that's powering this AI revolution. Check it out, and I'll see you in our next episode. Welcome to the Grid.
That's a wrap on another episode of the AI Hat Podcast. I hope you gained some valuable insights and actionable strategies to boost your business with AI. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. And don't forget to visit theaihat.com for more resources and to connect with me. Until next time, keep innovating, and remember, the future of business is human and it's powered by AI.